You're 16, kneeling on a bathroom floor, prying up tile with a flat bar. The contractor's quote came in at $25,251. 2 decades later, you sign a paper selling your home building company for $80 million. Between those two moments sits an hourly wage of $22.14, paid to men framing houses they'll never afford. The tile comes up in pieces, and the dust gets in your teeth. Your dad looks at the empty floor and says you did it right. Nobody on this ladder starts with a license. They start with a flat bar and a Home Depot receipt. This is every level of general contracting in America, and what the climb actually costs you. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The Saturday Demo. You earn nothing on this rung, and the payoff is the quote you never hand over, $25,251. The job starts on a phone, watching a stranger tile a shower at midnight, then pricing it yourself on a legal pad. You shut the water off at the angle stop under the sink and tape plastic over the doorway. The vanity comes out in one piece, held by 2 screws and a bead of caulk. Then the tile. You pry it up with a Stanley flat bar, chisel the thin set off the slab, bag the shards, and carry them out to the driveway. Behind the vanity, you find a soft spot in the subfloor, and the screwdriver goes straight through the plywood. The simple job stops being simple, and that's the moment you understand what the pros charge for. The debris goes into a rented 10-yard dumpster in the driveway, one contractor bag at a time. Then it's quiet again, and the room is only studs. In spring, you move outside and build a deck, because a professionally built one runs about $8,250, and yours won't. You load pressure-treated 2x8s onto a lumber cart at Home Depot, and the receipt totals $487.63. The cut lumber smells sweet and chemical in the sun. You snap a line with a Stanley chalk box, mark your joists 16 inches on center, dry fit the first 3, crown up, and drive the screws with a DeWalt drill until your forearm quits. The circular saw binds in a wet board and kicks back hard enough to leave your hands shaking on the sawhorse. You cut the first joist a ½ inch short, and you drive back to Home Depot, which is the tax every homeowner pays exactly once. A neighbor who frames for a living leans over the fence and tells you the ledger board needs flashing, or the wall behind it will rot in 4 years. You install the flashing that morning, before the joists go down. You stop measuring twice and start measuring 3 times without deciding to. The footings go in, the torpedo level reads true, and the deck sits dead flat across 16 feet. A year later, it's still flat, and that's the only test that ever mattered. You sweep the slab, roll the plastic sheeting into a ball, bag the drywall dust off the windowsill, and stand in a room you gutted with your own hands. The house stops being a mystery and becomes a system you can read. The plates, the studs, the joists, the load paths, all of it visible now, which raises one obvious question. What is this worth when somebody else holds the checkbook? Level 2 answers that, and the answer starts at $22 an hour. Level 2. The helper on the crew. Construction laborers and helpers take home a median of $46,050 a year. Break that down, and it's $22.14 an hour, stamped on your first-time card. You arrive before the crew, unlock the gate, and walk the deck clearing trip hazards while it's still dark. The boom truck idles at the curb, diesel and beeping, and you stage sheathing where the lead points without asking twice. A fistful of galvanized nails in January is cold and oily, and you can't feel your fingertips by 9. You carry lumber crown up because a carpenter corrected you once, sharply, and told you to cite every board before you hand it up. That's the first real trade lesson. The wood has an opinion, and you learn to read it. A stack of sheathing slides toward the second floor edge, and you get a hand on it before it goes over. That is why fall protection is required above 6 feet, and why your hard hat carries a sticker that says Site Safety. You stop treating it as decoration after that morning, not equipment. You hold the dumb end of the tape, load demo into a 30-yard dumpster, run a magnet sweep for stray nails, and sweep the deck between trades all day long. It's grunt work, and everyone, including you, calls it that. A guy named John F. Murphy owns a remodeling company in North Haven, Connecticut. He started exactly here as a teenager, stalking a framing crew, and worked up through framing, block, tile, and trim. He told a trade magazine how it turned. After a short period with Al, I was able to then start running his crews. You keep the saws fed for a full day, and nobody has to tell you twice. The lead learns your name and uses it. Your first check clears at the credit union, and the stub lives in the truck console for a year. You stop parking at the far end of the lot. You buy your own framing hammer and a set of nail bags with the second check, and the leather stays stiff for a month. You dig footing trenches by hand in the rain, strip the form lumber when the pour cures, and stack it by crown against the fence. Nobody thanks you. The crew that pays you by the hour is framing a house that will close for well over $400,000. And every man on that deck knows it. The math is not a secret here, it's just not the point yet. At the end of the week, the lead hands you a saw and a cut list and walks away. That's the promotion nobody announces. You stand there holding a list of numbers and a saw. Level 3 is what happens when the wood is yours to cut, and the mistakes are yours to eat. Level 3. The Lead Carpenter. You're the last person on this ladder who touches wood. Carpenters earn a median wage of $59,310. You read the plan set at the tailgate, pull a cut list, and verify every layout line against the deck before a single board moves. The bottom plate gets marked 16 on center in carpenter's pencil, doors and windows detailed, kings and jacks called out. You set the saw station where the light is good, cut the plates in one run, stand the walls with a crew of 3, and nail off the sheathing. The Milwaukee framing nailer runs all morning, and your ears ring through lunch. You plumb, line, and brace the long wall, then pull a diagonal to check for square. The header goes in over the slider, doubled, and shimmed tight to the king studs. You hang the interior doors on their hinges, case them out, and cut the hinge mortises with a chisel. The seams get mud and tape, then a pole sander walks them flat in long strokes. You hand the tape to a helper and teach him layout from the plate up, mark by mark. The finish work is where the job changes. You scribe base to a wavy plaster wall, cut crown on a DeWalt miter saw, and hold a consistent reveal on every casing because the eye catches a bad one before the tape does. A Finnish carpenter named Tucker Windover runs a shop outside Boston. He once trimmed out 50 high-end condo units, and he hands every new crew member a guidebook of trim rules. He says it plainly, "I can still remember my first day on a Finnish carpentry crew." The trick he uses on doors is a crew management detail you steal on the spot. One carpenter to each side of the opening so the miters meet in the middle, and nobody chases the other man's error around the frame. Then the exterior doors come in. You set 3 of them, shim them, and move on to trim. 2 days later, the super walks the job and finds all 3 swinging open on their own. Every jamb is plumb in one plane and racked in the other, and every casing you cut around them is scrap. That's a day and a half of your own labor, paid out of your own pocket, in front of a crew that watched you do it. You pull the casing, pull the shims, and reset each door with a laser level instead of a torpedo. You check the head against the laser, check both jambs, top and bottom, check the reveal at the latch side, then shim and fasten in that order. The doors stay shut. The super walks it again the next morning, pushes each one halfway open with 2 fingers, watches it hold where he left it, and says nothing at all, which is how you know it's right. You stop shimming by feel after that week. The room you finish that week closes tight at every corner. Crown miters that don't need a bead of caulk to hide the joint. The miter saw winds down and construction adhesive squeezes out of a tube with a solvent smell you never lose. You build the punch list yourself room by room, walk it, and hand off the whole floor. Then it's quiet again. A month later, you're handed a whole scope, a helper, and a schedule. The layout, the sequence, the material order, all of it yours to run, and nobody standing behind you to catch the racked jam this time. That is the job at Level 4, except the mistakes get more expensive. Level 4. The Site Superintendent. First-line supervisors of construction trades earn a median near $79,000. You're first in and last out for that. The top quarter clears $100,150. You unlock the gate at 6 in the morning, walk the site for hazards, and pull up the day's trades on a tablet running Procore. The two-way radio crackles at 6:30, and the cold mud sucks at your boots on the way to the slab. You run the toolbox talk standing on the tailgate of an F-150, then sequence the day so the electricians aren't waiting on the framers. What you actually run is a 2-week look ahead, seeing far enough forward that no trade ever stands still. You call for inspections, meet the inspector at the gate, chase questions back to the office, and sign for 2 deliveries before 9. A framer on the 2nd floor is working with an unclipped lanyard, and you stop the whole run until it's hooked. The excavator swings toward an unmarked line at the corner of the lot. and you stop him with a raised hand. You called the blue stick locators the week before, and the gas main is 18 inches off where the plan drew it. That's the save nobody logs, except you do, with photos and a timestamp. A framing inspection gets red tagged over hold-down anchors, and you lose a day. You get the framer back on site that afternoon, correct the anchors, and call for a re-inspection first thing. Passed by 10 the next morning, and the schedule absorbs the whole loss. You walk the punch list with the framer, and close it the same afternoon. Vicki Bruns has been doing this in Salt Lake County for 25 years. The last 15 as a superintendent at a remodeling company, running residential job sites and coordinating every trade that walks through the gate. That's the whole job description. Nobody waits. Weather blows a hole in the schedule in March, and you pull interior work forward, keep 4 trades busy under roof, and bring the house in on the original date. The owner asks how you did it, and you don't have a good answer for it because it isn't one decision, it's 90 small ones. You stop carrying a tape measure on your belt. Being the best carpenter on the crew earns you a job where you never pick up a saw. What you have instead is the whole board, the sequence, the money, the inspectors, the subs, and one question you keep coming back to at 4 in the morning. You are running all of this for somebody else, and level 5 is what happens when that stops being true. Level 5. The licensed general contractor. This is the rung where you sign your own name. Construction managers earn a median of $106,980, and the top 10% clears $176,990. But owner take-home comes from margin, not wage. In California, the Class B license takes 4 years of proven journey-level experience. The application costs $450. The exam has 2 separate parts, and one of them is law and business alongside trade. The bond is $25,000. That exam is a business exam wearing carpenter's clothes. You pass, and the card comes in the mail, and it's the smallest object on this ladder that changes the most. Jordan Smith spent roughly a decade in heavy construction before he and his wife Veronica struck out on their own and formed Smith House Company, a design-build firm in Austin, Texas. The line he works by, whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. You bid from a plan set, win the job, and pull the permit. The placard goes in the front window smelling of warm toner. You sign a personal guarantee on the line of credit, and the risk stops being the company's and starts being your family's. That's the night you don't sleep. Morning comes and there's a slab to check. The slab comes in out of level by 1.25 inches across the great room. You price a self-leveling pour that same morning, write it up, and walk the homeowner through it at the kitchen counter. A change order for $4,200, signed before anybody frames a wall. The draw covers it, and payroll clears Friday. The job that should have eaten your margin doesn't. You hire the subs yourself, schedule them, and chase the 2 who don't show up Monday. You collect lien waivers before you release a dime and stop taking anyone's word for it. You run lead-safe certified on every older house, because disturbing more than 6 square feet of old paint inside triggers a federal rule with real teeth. The final walkthrough smells like wet latex, and the homeowner hands you the last check plus retainage on the spot. The average single-family builder cleared 8.7% net margin in fiscal 2023, according to the National Association of Home Builders. The homeowner who signs that check at the counter assumes you kept half. The top quarter of builders cleared 17.7% that year. The bottom quarter lost money, a negative 1.4%, in the exact same market, in the same year, on the same streets. The difference isn't carpentry. Which means the next rung isn't a better crew, and it never was. It's land you own before anyone hires you. Level 6. The builder, developer, and the exit. You stop building on other people's lots and start optioning your own, taking them down in scheduled batches and building spec homes on your own account. The first lot is one you buy outright, borrowed against the house you live in. You clear it, cut the road in one summer, set the storm drains in a wet November, and run water to every pad. Then you build one house nobody has bought yet. That's a spec home, and the money is yours until it sells. 2 brothers, Tim and Russell Kalliainen, founded SK Builders in Greer, South Carolina in 1994, and they grew it into the largest privately held home builder in Greenville. By 2024, they were closing 470 homes on $155 million in revenue. The model home smells like a vanilla candle. A sales agent walks a couple through the kitchen, and the sales center runs on backlog all year. Homes sold, not yet closed, revenue you can see coming. Ted Terry is a fifth-generation home builder. Crescent Homes, his company, went to Dream Finders in February of 2024 with 6,200 lots under control. The backlog alone was worth $265 million. That's the shape of the exit when it comes. You engage a sell-side advisor in the spring, run a competitive process, and carve the land development business out so you keep the dirt. In October of 2025, D.R. Horton, the largest home builder in America by volume, buys the SK Builders home building operation. The price is approximately $80 million in cash, filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission where anyone can read it. You sit at a closing table for 2 hours, sign in where the colored tabs are, page after page. Your people meet their new employer on Monday morning, and the trucks get new door signs by Friday. The Cullianans keep land development and start again under a new name. You walk the model home the morning after signing, and the closing pen is still in your shirt pocket. You stop checking the framing schedule. What the latter actually paid you in the end wasn't a wage on any rung of it, and that's the part nobody tells the kid holding the flat bar. Final beat. The hidden game. The ladder lies to you about what it rewards. Craft peaks at level 3 and stops there. Every rung above it pays for something else entirely. Cash management, estimating accuracy, and access to land and credit. The license is a business exam, not a carpentry exam, and you make more money managing subcontractors than employing carpenters, which is why the top 2 rungs stop swinging hammers. The scarcest field role is the superintendent, and debt is the accelerant and the killer both. The best carpenter on the job is almost never the richest man on it. 92% of firms report difficulty hiring, according to the 2025 Workforce Survey run by the Associated General Contractors and the National Center for Construction Education and Research, across nearly 1,400 firms. The scarcest thing in American construction right now is not a saw hand. It's the person who can see 3 weeks ahead, 3 trades deep. The 2024 House and Home Study surveyed 32,615 homeowners, and they all believe the same wrong thing. They think the contractor keeps half. He keeps 8.7%, and a quarter of his competitors keep less than nothing. The wage on this ladder was never the prize. The prize was the $80 million at the end, and it only exists because somebody spent 30 years building something a buyer wanted whole. The exit is where the money actually lives, not the annual profit, and almost nobody in the trade sees it coming until it's too late to build for it. The people who make the most in this business stopped touching wood a decade before the payday. The knee you wrecked kneeling on that first bathroom floor never fully came back, and you'd trade it again because it bought the thing you're standing in now. Somewhere a 16-year-old is prying up tile off a bathroom floor, skipping a quote worth $25,251. He's on the bottom rung of the same ladder, and he doesn't know it yet. Your framing hammer hangs in the office where the crew can see it, the handle worn smooth on one side. Nobody has swung it for 20 years. Your nail bags hang beside it, the leather finally gone soft after all those years. Nobody asks about either one anymore. And that's fine with you. The permit placard you used to tape in one front window is gone. What replaced it is 6,200 lots and a deed of sale carrying your name. You keep the Home Depot receipt from the deck, $487.63, in the same drawer as the closing documents from the sale. One of them cost a Saturday, the other cost 30 years. Both are proof of the same thing. You take the hammer down off the wall with one hand, hand it to the kid who just started, and tell him to cite the board before he cuts it.